Quiet week, not so quiet for the Texans. The Texans make a move that creates a lot of opinions. Let's catch up with John Mclain, the legend, in the building live in the locker room. Plus Derek Stingley. Let's relive the previous 3 years of the Stingley era, the first three, and what to expect in the future. Let's go inside the locker room.
Yeah.
Do it live.
Yeah. It's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do.
All right, it is the locker room. We are 34 days away from training camp. It's going to be fun. Can't wait for it. John Mclain joining us right there from we got the antiques behind him. Look at him. Bull in if you're a bull in a china shop, then things are doomed right now, John, because you got a china shop behind you.
That door has not been open in probably 20 or 25 years.
Well, why not? We got to see what you got going there. Those plates up top, those are the nice ones. I know you didn't come here to talk about plates, but I am admiring the plates.
Well, good. Thank you. I'll tell Carol you liked her plates.
Let her know. Let Carol know that I like the plates. So John, we got training camp approaching. I know you're still going to be on the scene. You still do a number of, I know you don't do Chronicle stuff anymore, obviously, but you're still a very, very popular voice and representation of the game of pigskin around here. Tell everyone how many radio shows you do now and what else you've been up to.
After the Kansas City playoff loss, I thought I'd take a couple of months off from writing for the first time in 52 years. And all of a sudden that freed up 10 to 12 hours a week for me that I could devote to radio, TV, and podcast. And the documentary I'm working on, Prairie View Interscholastic League, high school football in Texas before integration. And so I'm not writing anymore. A couple of friends have asked me to do stuff for them, and I'm happy to do it. But I'm having a blast just talking. And as you know, talking about sports is like stealing, because you've been stealing for years, just like me.
Yeah,
and I love doing it. I do 610 with Patrick Creighton and the Great Crate and Sean Bajani on Wednesdays, and I do Texans Radio with Mark Vandermeer and John Harris on Thursdays, and that picks up 2 more during regular season. And I do TVs on Monday and Friday with Nate the Great Griffin and on KRIV, and I do weekly shows in Austin, San Antonio, Waco, Las Vegas, Knoxville, and 2 a week in Nashville, including Outkick, which is regional. And I never get tired of talking about sports, whether it's the Texans or the Astros or the Rockets. And so thanks for letting me do that, and thank you for letting me give a little promo to our documentary.
Always, man. Yeah, the documentary, I know you've been working on it a lot. We actually went out to eat today at another great place, the Ambassador.
Absolutely.
By the way, man, I'm not going to say that you had like the most, I don't think you like ordered a salad, but you went with the pepper steak. You didn't go with the crazy chicken and the garlic shrimp. So I feel like you were kind of calorie watching to a certain point at Ambassador, a little bit. Not a lot.
Yeah. If I was calorie watching, I wouldn't get within 2 blocks of the Ambassador. I did one of those big fat egg rolls, and the truth is, I would have eaten what you just brought up, but we had a dinner planned tonight, and I knew I was going to be eating again about 7. If I wasn't going to dinner tonight, I would have been eating all that stuff you brought up, because I love the Ambassador, as you do, and it'd been a while since I'd been there.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite spots for sure to eat at. On the super chat, HDAV Traveler, he's been listening to you for a while.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm. He says, "Good evening, John Mclain."
Good evening.
We call him Austin Jack. He's he's been listening for a while. He lives in Austin. He showed up to mine and Cody's draft party, and he's a regular on the 4:00 stream in here. So he's been listening to you for quite a while.
Thank you very much.
So this documentary, though, I understand you got to spend some time with Jimmy Johnson, drink some Heinekens and all that type of stuff in Florida.
We did. This documentary we've been working on a while. We're hoping to have it in South by Southwest Film Festival in March. The director is Mark Burns, who's done a lot of documentaries, and the producers are Scott Nethery and Rob Lynch, and I do the interviews, and I guess I'm a producer too. And we've been traveling around the state doing interviews with players, coaches, administrators, media, who could tell us about the Prairie View Interscholastic League before integration, the all black compared to the all white University Interscholastic League. And we probably interviewed 30 people. We've got more coming up. And one of the things we've done is we've interviewed people like Warren Moon, Eric Dickerson, Andre Ware, Jake Green. We're headed to get Mike Singletary in Dallas because they did not play in the PVIL, but they're telling us they would not have accomplished what they did without standing on the shoulders of the PVIL players. And there are 12 in the Hall of Fame, 3 who are still alive, Mean Joe Green, Ken Houston, and Emmett Thomas. And it's been a labor of love. So in 1960, Corpus Christi Miller won the first integrated state championship. And their coach, Pete Regis, is 97, still driving.
Driving. You get him off the road.
He's better shape than I am because he doesn't need it, the ambassador. And Pete came to the hotel that we got, and he told us all about that championship season. Johnny Rowland was the running back who was rookie of the year in 66 with the Cardinals, and Johnny coached for 30 years in the NFL, and he was their best player. And they had 17 white players, 16 Hispanic, and 5 black. And they didn't play another team that had a black player. They went 13-1, beat Wichita Falls in the championship to be the first integrated state champion. But he told us, Pete said the best player they played was a kid in the semifinals, a little middle linebacker and a guard. He said we had to build our whole game plan around him, and we still couldn't stop him, but we scored 1 touchdown and won 6-0. And we said, well, who was that? He said, Jimmy Johnson.
Okay.
So we called Jimmy, asked him if we could come to Key Largo and interview him about that game, about the playoffs, about the times. You know, he was at Port Arthur Jefferson, all white, Port Arthur Lincoln, all black, and he was really good, not just on camera, Landry, but all the things he talked about, stories, Herschel Walker trade, that prediction he made on Randy Galloway's show that they were going to kick the 49ers ass, and everybody freaked out, including his players and coaches, but they kicked their ass. And Jimmy was great. He's living a life down there. And now that he's retired after 31 years from Fox, he can focus on college football on Saturday and the NFL on Sunday. And he turns 82 in July, and he is doing very well.
That's good. That's good. I'm looking forward to this. I know you've put in a lot of effort into it. When's the last time? What do you know about South by Southwest though? Like, does marijuana smoke offend you? Like, there's a lot of that going on. If you go out to South by Southwest, you go in Austin. I don't want you to be offended if you get out there and there's a lot of that marijuana smoke.
Yeah, I never smoked marijuana in my life. Never did any kind of drugs.
High grade marijuana,
straight laced as you could get.
Yeah,
I had a movie that was in South by Southwest, Cook County. We won an audience award over there.
That.
And then we were in Dallas film festivals, Nashville, Berlin, and you can get Cook County on Amazon for I think $2.
I'm gonna get it,
and I wish you would. Let me know what you think.
No, I'm doing it.
I'm one of the few non-crystal meth addicts, but we had a blast at South by Southwest. It's the only thing I've ever done. I walk out of the theater; it was packed. And not because of me, of course. And I walk out, and there's these reporters. They don't have a clue who I am, other than I was in the movie, and I happened to be the first one out. And they started interviewing me about the movie and acting and my part. And one of them said, "What method do you use acting?" And I said, "Well, I like the Lee Strasberg method. That's the only one I'd ever heard of. She's the greatest acting coach ever. Won a Academy Award for supporting actor for Godfather 2. And so I was so full of BS, but it was so much fun. And afterward, I walked away and watched him go interview the director, David Pomus, and Anson Mount, the star. But that was my 15 minutes of acting fame where somebody actually interviewed me about my role.
You got in Spring Breakers though, and that's one of the best Judge scenes of all time.
Thank you very much.
Yes, it is. It's better than My Cousin Vinny. For my money, I think you did a better job than My Cousin Vinny Judge.
Oh, that's funny.
But yeah, and you're not fooling anyone with that lie about never doing drugs. But we'll kind of move over that. It might actually be a smooth transition because the Damon Arnett signing kind of generated a lot of reaction. We talked about it here. I brought up your tweet, and I sometimes I think that context should take place over like whatever people consider tone. But you basically said that this is not Bob McNair's Texans, and we'd wondered for a while. I've actually been I've been wanting them to kind of loosen things up, but talk about your reaction there because it generated a lot of reaction. It was the big news during kind of the down week.
Yeah, I thought it was a great signing. Get Ohio State quarterback who was a first-round pick. He's 28 years old. They hope he can still play. They don't have to pay him anything if they had him cutting, and he is a choir boy. And I think he'll fit right into the Texans culture. And what D'Amico Ryans and Nick Caserio says about they want good people who are going to be great for the culture. So it was a tremendous signing. Is my nose growing? If I'm Pinocchio, my nose is growing across the room.
They like the Ohio State corner from the
yeah, Jeff Okuda worked out real well, didn't he?
Yeah, you got to get to 2020, but in all seriousness, the Arnett thing, were you at all, because obviously Bob McNair, this does not happen. Were you at least kind of like surprised a little bit?
Shocked because of everything I just said about what Nick Caserio and D'Amico Ryans say they want in their players. And Bob McNair used to tell me, and I talked to him a lot about this, he would take players. He said, guys get in trouble. They're young guys. But what he did not want, guys that beat on women. And he also didn't want players with a pattern of bad behavior. Mm-hmm. And he said, if you take players with a pattern of bad behavior, they'll be the first ones to turn into cancers in the locker room when things don't go well. And you talk about a pattern of bad behavior. And you told me today, you said, well, if some people think you should get a second chance, he got a second chance with Kansas City. He got a third chance with Miami. So really, this is his fourth chance. And Bob never would have stood up for this, but it's not his team. You know, this is Cal McNair and it's Hannah McNair's team, and they don't interfere. You know, they let Nick Caserio have final say on everything, and Nick wouldn't have signed Arnett if D'Amico Ryans hadn't wanted him. But he just goes against everything. And even if he's turned his life around, good. Let him make speeches and tell people how he turned his life around. And that's great. I hope he does. I hope he plays great. But the fact is, he just got in trouble in June and had to pay $75,000 to a woman he smashed her head in the wall, according to the judge. And he's been busted with crystal meth. He's dumb enough to put guns on the internet, online. How stupid can you be? And that thing we were talking about today, where a cop cut him some slack and said, well, let your buddy drive. And then 20 minutes later, he's back in the same car in the same place. And you think about how stupid are you? And I hope it works out, but I just don't think you should be that desperate that you bring in a player that has bad behavior, has a pattern of bad behavior. Nobody can dispute it. He does. Yeah. It's right there.
He doesn't dispute it.
But one of the things you pointed out is he's never been a real good player. And that's something they're hoping. What was he drafted in 21?
18, I think he went 18. He was supposed to be a second-round pick, if I'm not mistaken. It was the pick that the Raiders actually got in the Khalil Mack, one of the picks in the Khalil Mack trade. I think it was 18, 20. It was mid first.
When the Raiders and the Chiefs cut players, you know they're bad.
Yeah. And then my thing with it is I'm on board with it. I'm fine with it. I've heard that he's trying to get his stuff together. I actually think, to me, like, and this is just how my brain works, like the flash and the guns when someone tells you to drop an address, I wasn't as offended by that as I was when a cop lets you off and then you get pulled over by the same cop in the same area 30 minutes later. That's just That's dumb. But for me, I do wonder. It's just weird because D'Amico and Caserio go out of their way, and D'Amico actually said it. I want to say he said it at it was either his last or before his last press conference when we were there at minicamp. We want great guys. We want great guys in the community. We want great things, which I don't care about that, but it is interesting. And maybe they think Damon has turned into that, but I do think it's interesting when they do that. And the other thing is, I think even in the best case scenario, he's just a quality third corner. It's not like Antonio Brown after he was with the Raiders or something like that, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers take him on and revive him or whatever. It seems kind of like I support it, but it's not quite like, I don't think there's like a ton of upside when it comes to what could go down, unless they're just setting it up to where they'll be more open-minded in the future.
You said he's a quality corner. Why do you think that? What's he ever done?
No, I said
to make you think he can be a quality corner.
No, I said best case scenario, he's a quality third corner. There's been nothing. This is not a situation where a guy was just raking and awesome in the league and you don't. No, I'm saying even best case scenario, you're getting a third corner. So it's not like you're doing this for a top end wide receiver or something like that. That's what kind of surprises me about it a little bit, is it's not like an overly desperate area or anything like that. You said desperate. It just
reeks of desperation. And the guns thing, he did it online. How stupid can you be for all the world?
In DMs. No, it was in DMs. It was in DMs.
Well, I saw it online.
Yeah, they posted it. They posted it 10 months later. In DMs, yeah.
Well, and don't be putting it on DMs,
yeah,
so somebody can post it.
Yeah, it was 10 months after. So, but yeah, people are saying he's easily cuttable. He is
easily cuttable, of course.
Yeah,
but the fact is, everything they say they stand for, he has never been.
Yeah, and they
don't know for sure if he is now. He's saying all the right things, and I'm sure people with the Roughnecks said he's an angel in the first degree. And that's fine, but at no point in his career has he been, and maybe he turns his life around and he can be an example, a role model for other young guys that get in a lot of trouble. But I'm just like, you bring in these guys, you see what happened to Jimmy Ward, and now you got Gardner Johnson. He's kind of a live wire too, bounces around the league, and now you bring in Damon Arnett. And their defense is a Super Bowl defense without Damon Arnett.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. It did seem weird because we'll see how the Jimmy thing plays out. But it was weird that after, Jimmy's been a model citizen before this. I'll be honest, like from what I know, that I can't say anything bad about him. I can actually go the opposite way and say he might have been one of the nicest guys in that locker room before this. So we'll see how it plays out. But
he's a team leader, and D'Amico loves him, and everybody loves Jimmy Ward. But the fact is, he's got a serious charge out there. Could lead to him being suspended.
That was kind of interesting timing where it's on the kind of the aftermath of that, and that's the last two times that they're in the headlines. But yeah, I have no problem with rolling the dice. This was I talked about whether they're going to do it or not. I didn't know, and now I guess we know that they're willing to do it. And by the way, I don't think this is a coincidence, John, because you know how they think, and you correct me if I'm wrong here, please. I know how Caserio and D'Amico think. They can deny it all they want. They do not handle a lot of situations well when it comes to answering questions. We saw it with CJ. All D'Amico had to come out and say is general soreness on day one, and it would have been fine. And no, he did not have surgery. Would have been fine, and guys like me would have shut the F up about it. But it's not a coincidence that they worked Damon Arnett out 2 weeks ago, and they sign him after mini camp before training camp starts to where they don't have to immediately talk about it.
Didn't want the distraction either. I'll say this, Nick is great at talking and saying nothing. He learned that with the Patriots. Now, When Azir got suspended, Nick was great, ripping the league.
Yeah.
And we're like, why can't you be something like that more often? Now, D'Amico, when he played, and I covered him every day. And by the way, Bob McNair told me a couple of times he would love to have a full team of D'Amico Ryans, guys like D'Amico, on and off the field. And so D'Amico has become so paranoid about injuries. And he wasn't like that when he played. If he was hurt, he would tell us, but times have changed. So he knows what he can and can't say, but he won't even acknowledge that a guy is injured at all until the injury report comes out. We could see a guy with a broken leg and a bone sticking out. And D'Amico wouldn't talk about it until they had to designate it for regular season games. And that's become commonplace for most teams. The one that I respect the most, when the Astros were having injuries and they wouldn't comment at all, mainly it had to do with Yordan Alvarez, and it came out that they tried to hide behind the HIPAA laws, and it turned out that other teams will talk about injuries. And Detroit has a trainer come out twice a week and address about what's going on with injured players, where they are. And I'm like, can you imagine covering somebody like that?
Yeah, that's the thing that is always funny is you think I call it when keeping it real goes wrong, and I'm kind of a victim of it. But I think sometimes when D'Amico's trying to keep it real for his players, Astros just completely screwed Kyle Tucker last year because every fan thought he was a pussy. Like they thought he was just some wuss that had a hangnail and didn't want to play baseball when it was serious. But Christian Harris, like I knew he was hurt. Like, I don't know, like I knew he was hurt. So I give D'Amico like an opportunity to like say, hey, he's not going to be back for a while. And he acts like I'm making the player. No, the fans think that the guy's just soft. It's clearly a long-term injury. So I'm actually giving you a chance to do the opposite. And I think it's kind of the paranoia of when keeping it real goes wrong with how they've handled the injuries sometimes. It's not bad intentions. It's a bad result. And the question has to be asked because people want to know.
Of course it does. And even though you know what the answer is going to be, you still have to ask. I'll tell you an interesting story about when D'Amico was a player. Andre Johnson hurt his knee, and they knew he was going to be out like 4 to 6 weeks. But Gary Kubiak kept telling us, well, looks like he could play the next week, and he didn't. And then the same thing. And I told Gary, I said, listen, people are calling the radio and talking about that Andre's a wimp because you act like he can come back and he's not coming back. It's his decision. You're hurting him. And one of the many reasons I like Kubiak, he listened. And then the next time he talked about Andre, he said, well, he's going to be out another 3 or 4 weeks because he didn't want having things said about Andre Johnson like that. And it didn't hurt anything. And but times have changed now. It's every team is like that. Bill O'Brien told me one time, every morsel of information we can get about the opponent gives us a better chance to win. And I said, well, you need to get some more morsels of information.
Do you think it's a Caserio thing, or do you think this is just kind of D'Amico, just a combination? I think D'Amico's just a player's guy and wants to protect him.
I think it's a Nick Caserio thing. And then D'Amico, he comes in, he sees how Nick handles things and how Nick wants things handled. Lovie Smith, who I've known forever, used to talk to him when he was head coach of the Bears, defensive coordinator of the Rams. And he told me early on, I cannot have any off-the-record conversations with you because I'm a good company man. And Nick Casario's told me, do not communicate any way with the media. So I just want to give you a heads up. And I respected that for him to tell me instead of just ignore my texts or anything. And I think that that they all believe that there's something to be gained from an opponent if they disclose anything about an injury, which of course is hogwash.
Yeah. I mean, like there's been a couple bad bits, the Harris and then the like Stephon Diggs, we know he's out for the season, man. We don't have to wait till Wednesday. Like it's kind of obvious. So
one of the things that's so funny, head coaches find out immediately what's wrong with a player before they come in the media. But they always say, well, we'll have to see the MRI tomorrow and all this stuff, like they don't know. They know. And because the doctors tell them that's their job. And but the bottom line is some teams like the Astros just seem like they're snake bit. I was watching them tonight. Kikuchi would look real good in their rotation again, but he probably would have been hurt by now and had Tommy John. And it's so weird. At the end of the season, Landry, you know this, teams that have the fewest injuries, especially if your quarterback is healthy, have the best chance to win in the playoffs, get to the playoffs, win in the playoffs, and win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and it does feel like the Texans do a pretty good job medically. At least it appears at this point. It feels like they do okay. You mentioned O'Brien. Did O'Brien? He kind of liked to talk a little bit. Let's be honest. He didn't mind talking outside of the off the record though. Right? He was
I had a good relationship with O'Brien to where he wouldn't always tell me stuff. One of the things I liked about Kubiak, he wouldn't lie to me. If I texted him, I hear you're trading this player. If he didn't get back to me, I'd know it was true. Now I couldn't go with it based on that. I'd have to get it somewhere else. And there were times when Bill would help me, and there were times where he'd cuss me up one side and down the other and wouldn't talk to me for a week or two. One time he went out the season without talking to me, and it had nothing, wasn't about anything I wrote. It was about, I asked him a question after he blew the clock management in New England and Brady threw the winning touchdown pass to Brandon Cooks when he should have thrown a flag, stop play, and
the Gronk catch, the Gronk catch. It wasn't a catch. And he said, that's when you got it. He made him look stupid.
Not my job.
That's not my job. That's not my job. That's not my job. Yeah.
And he stormed off. He didn't talk to me. I would go out of my way if he's walking by with somebody else. I'd say, hey, Bill, how you doing? And just ignored me. And all of a sudden, with about a month left in the season, he just totally changed.
I love the savvy report stuff like that, where you kind of play the mind games with the guys who are petty. Because I remember when there was a Mavericks player named Monte Ellis who was pissed off at Tim McMahon, who's the top ESPN guy now, and he wouldn't answer any of his questions. Like he'd just be an asshole to him every time. So we went into the press conference. And it was a bigger one. I think it was like some sort of somewhat nationally televised game. And he just asked him about JJ Barea, a teammate. And he naturally acted like an asshole and just answered the question in a dick mode. And I was walking off. I was like, what was the point of that? He goes, now he looks like he's a bad teammate because he took it out on me.
Set him up.
Yeah, you set him up a little bit there. But yeah, the O'Brien experience was interesting. So do you think that the McNairs – they're just going to let Nick and D'Amico do whatever they want? Because I said this on my stream. Like, I'm not going to speak for Hannah. I'm not going to quote Hannah. I think we all have a good sense of her personality, behind the scenes and all that. I don't think she's like sitting there waving the flag saying we should sign Damon Arnett. If I'm being completely honest, I would not assume that. I would say this is a football thing, and this is the ultimate example of the owners not meddling. And Bob meddled a little bit more, as we all know.
And that's a good way to do it. Let the people do their job. If they don't do their job, fire them. They've done that. And Caserio knows a whole lot more about it than they do. So does D'Amico. They give them the money to put the best team they can on the field. They want to know what's going on. And I'm sure Caserio didn't just say, hey, we're signing Damon Arnett. And they're like, now where have we read about that guy? That he had to explain it. And I think that's a good way to be an owner. You don't interfere. And Caserio has in his contract, he has final say on all personnel. By the way, I may be wrong, but I believe at some point soon, Caserio is going to get an extension because he's been there 4 years and he signed a 6-year contract, and he deserves it because of what he's done with his franchise and what's happened with the team the last 2 years. And I think he deserves one, and I won't be a bit surprised some point before the season, they announced that Caserio will have an extension.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's 2 years.
I don't have any. Well, I think that's what you do. You don't wait the last minute. It's not like he's going anywhere, but you set examples for players. Like I love the way Caserio signs guys early, including, Derek Stingley Jr. is a great example.
He's a bad negotiator, though, John. He is a bad negotiator. He does piss off a lot of people with some of the second round. There's a second round holdouts right now because of Nick Caserio.
Well, he knew what he was doing. I don't think you can call him a bad negotiator I don't think they've had any holdouts that were important. I think Caserio does a hell of a job on that kind of stuff. And getting Stingley early for what another year from now is going to look like, wow, they got him cheap. It's the way you do it. The way you don't do it is the Cowboys, because they're going to pay Micah Parsons, and the longer they wait, the more it's going to cost, and he'll get more than Myles Garrett. And he could have extended him last year, and he wouldn't have got close to what Myles Garrett got.
Yeah, that's it. Man, sometimes it just seems like he's a little bit loose with it, but it will be interesting, though. I do think to see, like, in the next phase, how he kind of handles the real big bills with the 2023 draft picks, Will and CJ. That will be very, very interesting.
I've seen nothing to make me think he won't take care of them the way it needs to be taken care of. But I would caution, do not give out any no trade clauses to David Mullighetto.
Yeah, that would be. It worked out okay, but yeah, that was kind of a little bit of a pain. Yeah, I would say Nico's. I don't know if Nico's was a steal. I think it was an appropriate market value contract,
and it was a steal really quick.
Yeah, the injuries kind of bounced out, so we'll see how all that goes. That's gonna be fun to see in the next phase of things when it comes to what the hell the Texans are gonna do. I don't know how they're gonna handle it. I know I've won $100 from you before when betting on the Texans to win.
I paid you on the air.
Yes, you did. That was in 2023. And John McClain always has at least 60 $100 bills with him. So it was basically 50. Just like nothing for him. He normally has at least 50 $100 bills with him. So it was nothing. Do you think that the Texans are going to run away with the division this year? Is there any team that you see as kind of a threat to the Texans?
No, I don't. The key for the Texans, they'll win the division. Can they win a divisional round playoff game for the first time in history? Will they have a good enough record where they can get a divisional round game at NRG Stadium? To me, that's the key. The only way they could lose the division is if Stroud gets hurt and misses the season or a huge portion of the season. And I think they got a Super Bowl caliber defense. I think their running game is going to be really good. I love what they've done at wide receiver. Key at wide receiver, can Nico Collins stay healthy for the first time in his career? And we all know what the question mark is. It's the offensive lineman. 5 new ones in there. What they're running now, I'm sure is not going to be who's the starter when the season begins, because they've got so many new guys, plus a new coach, plus a new play caller. But I think they'll run away with the division. If Daniel Jones can be this year's version of Sam Darnold, the Colts might put the most heat on him. And Jacksonville, with new coach Liam Cohen, everybody thinks, oh, well, he will turn Trevor Lawrence into the generational quarterback. And maybe he will. And then, of course, Titans are doomed for last with rookie quarterback Cam Ward. And, of course, D'Amico go crazy saying this, but they should run away with a division, and they won it by 1 game 2 years ago, ran away with it last year, and I expect them to be 10, 11, 12 victories. Think about last year, Landry, all the games they could have won, they didn't, with Detroit being the most frustrating of all. Somehow the maturity level and the defense might be able to help them overcome those kind of issues when they're in those situations.
Yeah, the defense is definitely the superpower. I'd agree with that. I think that's going to be the extreme strength for sure. So you like the offensive coordinator too. I think he kind of he kind of won you over. I think Nick Caley, I don't know if he was being honest with you, John, but he did a long time. And Nick Caley kind of won over John McClain with that. I caught a glimpse of that a little bit.
Caley could have gone to several teams. He wants to be a head coach. He took the Texans. Now, when they signed Bobby Slowick, I thought, wow, this is great. After the first year, I thought this is great.
Damn it, Bobby.
Bobby gets fired. But Caley comes from, he coached with the Patriots, of course, but he is a Sean McVay guy. I think the offense we see is going to be a lot of the Rams. He's a great talker. What he says has meaning. It gets the players' attention. But the key is he could be the greatest play caller in history. If they can't pass protect, it's not going to matter. But I'm really fired up to watch him. And if he's good, he'll probably be here 1 or 2 years and be gone. And maybe Gerard Johnson will be promoted to be the next offensive coordinator.
Yeah, he might be the next Titans coach is what I said. But he's got a little bit of Houston ties, doesn't he? Caley has a kind of an unknown Houston tie, if I'm not mistaken.
When I met Nick, he told me that he had always kept up with what was going on here because he grew up in Canton. And he was related to John Grimsley, the late linebacker, inside linebacker for the Oilers, who accidentally shot himself. And John was one of the all-time good guys I ever covered. And it's kind of like he may have been Nick's hero. And I like the fact Nick's from Canton and he interned at the Hall of Fame. That's where he met his wife. And I'm partial to anybody from Canton because I've spent so much time up there. And he's captivating.
That's a brag,
he
right
is.
there.
When you talk to him,
guy.
He's a captivating guy.
Look at that. Look at that flex right there by John McClain. I spent so much time in Canton with the Hall of Fame hat. Look at that. Partial to it. I regret not going to the Hall of Fame during my time in Ohio. I really do. That's one of my big. I should have made the drive regrets. Not going to the Football Hall of Fame.
Well, maybe when J.J. Watt gets in 3 years, you can go up there.
Yeah. Are you going to be the one that does the pitch? Do you still do the pitch? So is that going to be your easiest one ever?
Well, Bruce Matthews was pretty easy. 14 consecutive Pro Bowls, tying the all-time record. I didn't do Earl Campbell. That was Mickey Erskowitz. Earl would have been easy, but Bruce was the easiest I've done. And JJ, I may not even have to spout any numbers. Just say, ladies and gentlemen, JJ Watt.
Yeah. So that one's going to be a little bit easier than.
I don't have to do a lot of preparation on him like I did with Andre Johnson.
Yeah, you had to grind for Andre. You did a good job of that. That was impressive, man. I did not. It would not have shocked me had Andre not been in at this point. So that was a good job.
We're going up against Torrey Holt and Reggie Wayne, and the guy that drafted Reggie Wayne, Bill Polian, and coached him, Tony Dungy, are both on the committee pushing for him. I would not have been surprised if he didn't make it, but he did, and that's all that matters. Yeah,
Andre told me when we interviewed him on the radio that Reggie actually said that he was better. Like that Andre was better too. So he was kind of agreeing, but they'll all get in eventually. We'll see how it goes. It's not quite as ridiculous as baseball. So you're going to be at camp. I'm always your water bitch at camp. You don't really maximize that effort if you'd like. I've offered this starting.
I do appreciate that.
I've offered this starting 2 years ago. I said, McClain, I'm worried about you in the heat. Just anytime you need a water, all you got.
Yeah, while you were standing in the air conditioning or under the shade.
Nah, that wasn't me. You were the one that had the drama about the air conditioning of the shade. That wasn't me.
Yeah, no, I don't go in the shade and I don't go in the air conditioning. But truthfully, this year I might. I can't wait for camp to start. And there's times in there where I'm not going to be there because we're doing interviews and I'm trying to set them up like when the Texans are gone. And there's a period in there about 8 days where they're not going to be here. So we're trying to do things. We've got so many interesting interviews for our documentary. One, the greatest quarterback was Eldridge Dickey from the PVIL. And Alphonse Dodson, Santana's daddy, played with him with the Raiders. And he and Santana have a winery out in Brady. And I used to go by Brady on my way to San Angelo. at training camp. So after we're in San Antonio for 2 days, we're going up to Brady, spend the night, and drink a lot of wine.
What was your drink like when you were drinking your most? What was your drink of choice?
You mean when I was young?
Yeah, like when you were a man.
Whatever kind of beer I could get, and
beer?
slow SLO gin, because it was about $1 or $2 a bottle, and Boone's Farm and Ripple and everything that just made you throw up.
What color Boone's Farm? Just whatever.
I didn't know. I didn't know it came in colors.
What? Boone's Farm has they got the purple, they got the red.
Yeah, I think this was red.
Okay.
We had to go to the county line in Waco with her and see some guy walking down the street and give him $2 or $3 to go in a liquor store and get us wine or beer. And a lot of times they just go out the back door and leave us hanging. And one time a guy brought us out a big thing of moonshine. Said, "You boys drink moonshine?" "Oh yeah, we drink moonshine all the time."
Oh, God, yeah,
when none of us had. And that night, I don't remember much of it, but it was kind of like in the movie The Hangover.
Oh yeah,
where at the end you hear about things you did. That's the way it was with us, but there were no tigers.
Yeah, the moonshine, that's a trust thing. That's almost like messing with the fentanyl these days. If you're just going to get someone's moonshine, man, that is like doing blow these days. Eric on the super chat. You ain't never Swarm. He says, can you ask John, in his estimation, I think you kind of touched on this, how optimistic is he for the 25 season, and how does it compare to promising teams at Texas past? So do you think that this team has the chance to do what's never been done before? I guess is the question.
No. They could on defense, but not on offense unless their offensive line makes dramatic improvement in pass protection. You know, they were a low-scoring team last year, and it's amazing they won 10 games and then were able to blow out the Chargers. I think they will run away with the division. I think they'll win 11 or 12 games. And if they do, that might get them a home game. I just want to see the Texans get beyond the divisional round for the first time in history. And if they do, then I might pick them for a Super Bowl material the following year. But I don't see them going for someplace they've never been. And I'm guessing you're talking about getting past the Super Bowl and not the AFC Championship.
No, I'm talking about getting to the AFC Championship. I'm not going to.
Okay, yes, I think they're good enough that they could. The teams that are clearly better than them are Baltimore, Buffalo, and Kansas City. And I don't see any other team, Denver, Chargers, Bengals, Steelers, nobody from the East other than Buffalo. And remember, they beat Buffalo last year, and they didn't get blown out in either game by the Chiefs. Baltimore has got their number.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson owns them.
Yeah.
He reaches into his hip pocket. What does he get? The Texans. Yeah. Well, it's someday, maybe, and I hope I'm on this side of the grass where I see them actually beat Lamar Jackson.
I hope you're on this side of the grass. Now you're getting dark, John. Now we're talking about death and stuff. Goodness gracious. My goodness. The General John McClain here. And yeah, you do need to. I feel like there was a time where you really wanted to cover a Super Bowl for this squad. I
want to cover the Super Bowl in Houston. Closest I've come to covering a Super Bowl was when the Titans in 1999 got to go to the Super Bowl and they lost. And that was still most of the Oilers on that team. And I covered them. And that was it. You know, the 78, 79 Oilers lost to the Steel Curtain in the championship game. Texans have never been beyond the divisional round. I would love to cover the Houston Texans winning a Super Bowl. And if they win one, I'd like to see them win more. I think they have the Super Bowl general manager. They have a Super Bowl head coach. I think they got a Super Bowl quarterback and a defense. But so much depends on this offensive line and Cole Popovich, who went from assistant offensive line coach to the head coach, and Nick Caley. And I can't wait, because we're not going to see squat from Caley until the season begins. When we see him going back to L.A., where he came from with the Rams, to see what he has in store for Sean McVay.
Yeah, and even then we won't know, because then it's like, okay, well, how does he go from week to week? How does he adjust? How does he handle like when he's shorthanded personnel wise. Cause I mean, Bobby Slowick was interviewing for head coaches jobs after the year. So that's the thing. Like, I think you can get a grasp of the offensive line. It's not the end all be all, but you can say, well, they're playing well, so they're capable of it. But like with an offensive coordinator, we shouldn't be the dog that whizzes on the electric fence and gets shocked and then goes back and takes another whiz. Like we just went through the Bobby Slowick thing. So you can't crown him too early. It's kind of going to be a long process. You got to learn.
That's a great description.
Yeah, you got to learn from it and like see what you just went through with Slowick. So I think it'll be interesting with the Caley thing. I do say, you know, the biggest pushback to D'Amico was that he's a defensive minded coach, and we're 2 years in and he's fired an OC. So, you know, like I guess the people who might've been hesitant about that, I don't want to say they're doing a victory lap because he has been pretty good, but we're kind of seeing that right now, that the defense is obviously better coached. The strength of the team, their arrow is pointing up, and there's just all this unknown with your guy Caley.
There have been some defensive coaches as head coaches who weren't too shabby. Belichick, Carroll, Landry, quite a few of them that were pretty good.
You realize you just said your wife's name and my name right there after Belichick. How about that?
Well, I'm talking about the greatest ever.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's just I was just like, oh, okay. Anytime I hear you say Carol, I'm like, okay, you're thinking about your wife, and then my name. Jay Hoover.
Anytime I say Carroll, I'm thinking about Pete Carroll.
Okay. Jay Hoover wants to know if you can say that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, or have you retired that?
Jay, that is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard.
What's the dumbest thing you've heard lately?
Something that I didn't believe.
Yeah.
I heard somebody told me the Texans were interested in Damon Arnett. I didn't believe it. I thought, that's dumb. That's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. Give me a bleeping break.
And then it happened.
Yes, it did.
Have you recovered from John Weeks being gone?
Not yet. When I go into the locker room and I go over and I see John's empty locker, I'll probably get a few tears in my eyes, and I'll go to his locker and do a sick 'em Bears in his honor. Yeah. They just cut the guy that was supposed to take his place.
Yeah, they got some other guy that they only got one deep snapper on the roster.
Yeah, that guy that takes Weeks' place. Weeks is one of the all-time greats.
He shouted us both out.
Not just because he went to Baylor.
He shouted us both out in his goodbye. I don't know how I made it, but made it.
And the new guy better not have a bad snap.
Yeah, we never saw one. John, I'm telling you this, and this was my observation, and I don't even remember which one it was, because both of these freaking long snappers, they do kind of look alike. But there was a couple of bad snaps. I'm assuming it was the one that was cut, but Tommy Townsend was punting right in front of us, and there were multiple bad snaps to where Tommy wouldn't even punt it. He set it down, and I was like, it was right in front of me, and I was like, man. And
Kyle Shanahan jumped all over John Weeks.
Kyle Shanahan did?
That's where he signed.
Oh, yeah. I think I hope he makes the team. I felt bad for Weeks, though, because he was getting so much crap when he got signed. And it was so unfair how they did him, because you know how John Weeks looks. Like, John Weeks looks like a guy that's in line with you at HEB. Like, he doesn't
look like he plays in the NFL for 15 years.
No. So the 49ers hadn't signed anyone. It was kind of one of those like inactive free agent starts. And then this graphic gets shared, and this is the one that goes around, that they made a signing. I'm going to put it on the screen. They put this up, and it's like the 49ers have signed this guy, and all their fans are just like, what? Oh my God. Like, so you're like, you haven't signed anyone. You're freaking out. You just had a disappointing season after almost winning a Super Bowl. And then your first signing is some old ass long snapper from the Texans, and he's just getting cooked, man.
They'll fall in love with John Weeks, not only as a person in the locker room. He was a great leader, but also the way he snaps and charges down the field and make tackles. I still am surprised the Texans let him go.
Yeah, that was a weird one.
He told me for years, Landry, he made the minimum every year.
Yeah.
And he said, at some point, my minimum is going to be so expensive, they're going to cut me to save a little money. And he was right.
Yeah. And I talked to him. It hurt. Like it definitely hurt. I think I don't think that's the way that he wanted it to end. So.
Absolutely not. And I'll tell you who else has heard about it. It's Kami Fairbairn. They were best friends, and Tommy Townsend had been here long enough. But Fairbairn, is he the most senior now? I guess he is with weeks gone. And they were tight, and he had a lot of confidence in John's snaps, as did Tommy Townsend, as he got to learn all about him last year when he played with him.
Yeah, Townsend was not happy with that deep snapper in camp at all. He was very, very disappointed. So we'll see what happens with Weeks in San Francisco. I'm assuming he's going to make the team. I don't know if they're even going to make him compete, but who knows?
I don't know if they have another one on the roster, but if they do, he's not going to beat out Weeks because obviously money was not an issue for a snapper for the 49ers.
Yeah, and I remember the Texans would always bring in some weasel in camp, and he would just beat him. I remember when they had that like Instagram model weirdo super trainer that I just absolutely hate. Dude, I treated this guy so bad on the radio. Like you would have thought he was the biggest jack. I just don't know. I just know he like had like shirtless pics and stuff and whatever, and I just like constantly made fun of him, and Weeks beat him out. But they would always bring in some weasel, and this guy, the worst.
He's going to be missed by a lot of people.
Yeah, he is going to be missed. So is there any other storyline that you want to touch on in regards to the Texans before I'll let you go? But you're a night owl, though. The people don't understand, like this guy is not, he's not your typical old man. This guy is a freaking night owl. You're probably going to be up for what, 3 more hours? 4?
Well, I'm a typical old man, and I take a nap so I can stay up. In this case, I wanted to stay up for the Astros, who have scored 2 runs and can't hit squat again. It's 2-2. And they just get infuriating. If they lose to the Angels, it means they're 2-3 against the A's and the Angels. And I know the Angels are better, but it's inexcusable.
Yeah. Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, you have a love-hate with the Astros. Let's be serious.
I have a love. I don't hate them. I've been a fan since the first pitch in their first game in '62.
You get very,
but I get annoyed, irritated. I'll celebrate when they get 20 hits, and then I'm cussing like crazy when they have to have a 3-run homer by Caratini to tie it up, and then Josh Hader gives up a 2-run bomb and they lose. And so yes, I'm a typical fan when it comes to the Astros.
Did you see that your boy Mattress Mack walked out Morgan Wallen today with Andre?
I did see that.
Yeah.
That was very interesting.
Yeah.
Can't get Mack away from gallery furniture much, but when he does, he's the star.
Yeah, that's the same. I mean, Peyton Manning put on full Tennessee gear to walk out with Morgan Wallen. I know Nuke walked him out there in Tennessee at another show too. So that's pretty good research by him to have Andre Johnson and Mattress Mack walk him out there. That's beautiful right there. Can't really dispute that.
Beautiful. I've never heard him called beautiful, but if you say so.
No, it's a beautiful sight. It's a beautiful sight to see Andre Johnson and Mattress Mack walking through and Mack doing his thing. He still has the Bart Simpson wardrobe. He's like a cartoon character, wears the same outfit every day with the Astros jersey, but hey.
I see him every week, and I've never seen anybody that has his energy. Open heart surgery, and he's cutting commercials in the ICU. He gets out of the hospital, goes straight to the station, and it's amazing the energy he has. And that his gallery furniture is 100,000 square feet, and he's walking constantly. I bet he gets 20,000 steps a day. And I don't think there's anybody, more respected than Mac is in Houston. There's some great athletes that everybody loves, but people love Mac and they respect him because everything he does for people, especially poor people. Yep. He has a school in his store for underprivileged kids. It's amazing. I see kids walking around there, and I'm like, wow. And he does so many things behind the scenes we never hear about. We think we hear about everything. But the thing he does with kids and especially underprivileged kids, is amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty freaking crazy. The first time I went up there, he was at the front of the store and he was worried about like a wrong price tag or something. And I was like, okay, well, he's doing his thing. He's hands-on when it comes to that stuff. So enjoy that.
Let me tell you one quick story. When Mark Berman retired, I told Mac, why don't you give him a rocker? I'll get him up here and you can have the social media team filming. That's a good idea. So we had a time. I told Berman, you need to be at Gallery Furniture at, say, 3:00 on a Saturday. Berman complains about everything.
Yes, he
He's
does.
like, oh, I know. I said, you got to be there. So he came and he was with his daughter, Jessica, and his grandson, Jackson, and his wife, Joy, was at home. I think she was feeling bad. So he walks in and Mac has got his social media team there filming this. And he says to Mark, for everything you've done for our city, I want you to pick out any 2 chairs, recliners in the store that you want, and they're all yours, courtesy of Gallery Furniture. And I'm like, well, I retired. And
Wow.
but it was hilarious.
Did he pick the best ones? Like
He picked, the salesperson said he picked the most expensive, and he had to call his wife and get her on the video on the phone and hold them up to her so she could see them, and signed off on him. And I've been over to his house a couple of times, and they are very comfortable. My house not big enough to fit them in there, but they fit in his house.
Yeah, he's dominating retirement for sure. John, appreciate you for coming through, my friend.
Anytime, Landry.
Yes,
Always
sir.
have fun with you.
We'll get it going during the season for sure.
Just let me know when you need me, and I'm there.
All right, there you go. That's the great John Mclain here. I'm going to talk a little Derek Stingley, but I appreciate you, John. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Landry. Take care.
It's the great John Mclain. And here talking about the Damon Arnett situation, which a lot of people got fired up about. I mean, he knows Bob McNair. That's his thing. Again, I don't mind doing what they did with Damon Arnett, but that's John Mclain. We'll get him on more in season. John's kind of relaxed, man. He's relaxed. He's not working with deadlines for the first time in a long time. He's getting to chill a little bit, getting a little bit more vitamin D. I think he's enjoying the movie thing that he's got going with the Jimmy Johnson. He can go on some tangents every once in a while when it comes to the movie thing, but he appreciates it, and he's respected regardless of how it is. And if y'all know me and John, we'll argue when we need to argue. I don't feel like overly strong about the Damon Arnett thing at the moment. I'm glad he's getting a chance, but I can understand what John's saying, and I don't think it's anything interesting. He did not get the second egg roll. He did not. He got the pepper steak. I guess he lightened up. He didn't go with his normal crazy chicken and is it coconut shrimp? Spicy shrimp, and nah, he just got the pepper steak. He actually gave me his extra soup, and that hot and sour soup goes hard though. It was cool. So there was his take on the Arnett situation. Agree, disagree, whatever. I always get a kick out of it, and I've had some back and forth with people. Shout out to all the people in the chat. I just think the word tone is corny when it comes to sports discussions. I think it's lame. Like tone, like let's focus on context instead of tone. Like the word tone in a discussion, if someone's screaming and yelling at you, like why are you yelling is better than what's your tone. Like what's your tone is what your elementary school teacher says to you, what your dad says to you. Watch your tone. Like sometimes tone is just an overreach, dramatic, whiny ass overreach for what someone is saying when they say something like McClain did about the Arnett thing. Now, obviously he feels a little bit strong about it, but like the tone and all that, some of the conversations I've had where someone's talking about tone, they don't travel well with time for the opposing view. So I always think that the tone thing is just kind of lame. But shout out to John for hopping in the locker room. It was really it was good to catch up with John. I like getting John. I like a dose of John McClain takes every once in a while. So there you go. Jay Hoover says, I'm surprised y'all are cool, bro. You pulled McClain cards so many times, but it wasn't malicious. Dude, we argue about sports. Like, and that's the thing about me and McClain. He's awesome. But like we'll argue like about sports. I'll take him to task. I think there got to be a time at 610 where people were just going through the motions when they would have John McClain on the air. And it was like, we're just going to get through this segment. It's going to be whatever. But no, I'll take him to task. It's kind of like asking the question to the coach at the press conference. A lot of times it's for the listener, it's for the fam. And that's kind of what it is with McClain. But we don't have to agree or anything like that. You don't have to kiss his ass. He doesn't have the thing about John McClain that I don't think people understand is 90% of people, and one of them that I was fortunate to come up under, he mentioned the pause, but the one that I was kind of took me under his wing, the guy who Jimmy Johnson called into his show and said the 3-inch headlines, that's Randy Galloway. That's one of my main mentors, one of my main influences. It's a guy that McClain knows very well. Dude could drink Miller Lite like crazy, even when he was 70. 15 Miller Lights and then an ice cream sundae at the bar. He was that kind of cat. Just an interesting dude. But John McClain does not have an ego. Like he has the least amount of ego. He doesn't mind getting his ass kissed every once in a while, but he does not have an ego like a lot of media types do. And he very easily could, but he does not. So yeah, that's what that is. Shout out to John McClain. And that's just kind of how he rolls. So we'll try to get him on a little bit more during the season, get some takes, figure out what he's got going. But it was good to hear from John and the Arnett thing that people were a little bit a little bit fired up about, whatever. Little Jesus says he didn't deny being on that high grade. He looks like the kind of guy. Nah, I don't know if he's going to put the mask on, but he's definitely got him a left-handed cigarette a time or two. That's for sure. The other interesting angle about this Arnett thing, and I want to get into a corner who's actually been good in the NFL and is someone who celebrated a birthday today, Derek Stingley. But the other thing about the Arnett thing that I kind of find, it is what it is. It's whatever. Like I think supporting players is okay. I mean, like it's gang for a lot of folks when they talk about players, and if you're even associated with the Texans, then they're going to defend you. There's people who were defending Jack Easterby and Bill O'Brien, and the goalpost moved, and all of a sudden they act like it never happened, but they always supported who is with the Texans. For me, it's not necessarily gang, and that's it. Never has been, even with like teams that I have extreme rooting interest with, like the Longhorns. Like I'm not going to sit here and say that Case McCoy was a good quarterback. He sucked. But Damon Arnett, you don't even know if he's really going to make the team. You don't know if he's completely turned stuff around. Although, as I've said and as we've broken down, I know guys who know him, and they say that he is, and he's trying, and he's getting a second chance, which I believe in. But me personally, if I were someone who was a fan, I'm not telling you how to do it, but I would not. I don't know that I would like be sticking my chest out for Damon Arnett. I don't know. Is he going to be on the team? Is he going to play? I'm fine with the philosophy. Maybe sticking your chest out for him is for the philosophy, but I don't know that I would stick my chest. I'm not trying to power rank. I don't want to get in a dangerous area where we're like power ranking, but like I understood early on, like people defend, like there are a lot of you defending Deshaun Watson. Like Deshaun Watson was the hope for the franchise for a while. And I always covered that whole thing fair, but I kind of understood it because he had the sweat equity with the squad. But Damon Arnett, I just don't know. I don't know if there's like a depth chart to the defense or whatever. But who knows? But let's talk about a cornerback who is a good NFL player and is definitely worth going to bat for. Derek Stingley. Derek Stingley right now is better at his job in comparison to his peers than any other player on the Texans team. He is arguably the best corner in the league. Arguably. Some say he doesn't follow guys around enough, although D'Amico has given him certain assignments where he's done it, and more times than not, he rises to the occasion. But he's better. He's a better cornerback at the moment than C.J. Stroud is a quarterback. He's a better cornerback than Will Anderson or Daniil Hunter are edge guys. He is better at what he does. He was better at corner than Laramie Tunsil was at left tackle. He is better at what he does than any other player on the Texans. And it's been a hell of a ride, which is kind of what I want to live through. I want to live through and relive the first 3 years of the Derek Stingley era in the typical locker room 5 thoughts. We'll go 1 to 5 on the thoughts. The 3 years of Derek Stingley, the number 3 overall pick in the 2022 NFL draft. And thought 1 is the draft selection itself. It was a relatively polarizing decision that the Texans were facing. On draft day, there was buzz that maybe the Lions weren't going to take Aiden Hutchinson. So there was hope that maybe Aiden Hutchinson would fall to 3. And then we know what the debate was. The debate, there were a couple of layers to the debate when it came to Derek Stingley. Number 1, can the guy stay healthy? And early on, that was still kind of a question mark. That really didn't, I wouldn't say it's completely eliminated, but the hope that was a thing of the past didn't really shape up till the back end of the 2023 season. But the question was, can this kid stay healthy? All-time great freshman year at LSU and then didn't really play much. Can he stay healthy? The other question was, did he fit into Lovie Smith's system? And is he better than the other corner in that area, in that range, Sauce Gardner? And I give Nick Caserio credit for drafting a guy that didn't fit Lovie Smith's system because Lovie Smith wasn't going to be a long-term coach. Lovie Smith was a stopgap guy. We knew that. No one else was hiring Lovie Smith. Lovie Smith was lucky to have the year he did with the Texans. And they didn't draft guys for Lovie Smith's system. They drafted Derek Stingley. And Stingley was hurt in year 1, although I think it was kind of a shutdown because they weren't necessarily trying to win. But early on, and this goes to thought 2, Sauce was overshadowing Derek Stingley. And Sauce was one of the better performing at one of the higher levels that we'd seen a rookie cornerback perform. Now, he had Robert Solak on his defense, and Derek Stingley had Lovie Smith, and he had more talent on the defense around him, but that's neither here nor there. But early on, Sauce Gardner was the guy. He was the star. You saw him in all the commercials. It was widely regarded as perhaps the wrong pick. The Texans picked the wrong guy at the position. And that kind of carried into year 2. But then the most important thing, I think this is the most important thought and the most important event, the D'Amico impact. D'Amico Ryans at his press conference. Derek Stingley was one of the first guys he mentioned. Derek Stingley was there at D'Amico's press conference. I was sitting to the left of Derek Stingley, probably like 15 feet away. Whenever D'Amico would speak, I would look over. Derek Stingley looked intense. He looked like he was like in a college course listening to a professor on day 1, and he was trying to ace that class. That's what Derek Stingley looked like. He was up there. He was focused. He was hanging on every word from D'Amico Ryans. And it felt like he was going to be one of the big beneficiaries of D'Amico Ryans being the head coach of the Texans. And then we get to thought 4 when it really turned around, because you saw some good things from Stingley with D'Amico early on, but he missed 6 games in the middle of the 2023 season. He missed 6 games, and all of a sudden it's like, man, the biggest question mark about Derek Stingley, the health, my goodness, it's rearing its ugly head. Fortunately, the Texans were able to tread water. They were able to put themselves in position to where they had a winner-go-home game in Week 18. And a big reason why they maintained that was because Derek Stingley was one of the best DBs in the league when he came back. He was the defensive player of the month when he came back. He was making play after play after play. And that was when it kind of became apparent, okay, this is the guy that they drafted, and this is the guy that you thought would be impacted by DeMeco. And that was really the turning point when he returned from missing 6 games in 2023. And then we go to top 5, and we wonder what's next. Last year, we saw Derek Stingley fully healthy for an entire season. Does that put to rest the concerns? Who knows? But the one thing we do know is that Derek Stingley is one of the best corners in the league, regardless of where you want to rank him, with Surtain and Sauce, Jalen Johnson, some of the other guys that come up. He's one of the best in the game. How much better does it get? He kind of rolled his eyes when I kind of hinted, like, how much better can you really play than you've played? He insists there's more. He's been one of the guys, when he got his contract this year, when he got the bag, he was lifting weights at the facility. And he's a guy, a few words, but he's very, very good at what he does. He's one of the better guys at his job, the best guy at his job when it comes to the Texans. So it's been an interesting 3 years with Derek Stingley. It'll be interesting to see what it looks like with Derek Stingley when things move forward. And he's only 24 years old. He's got the bag. And if this defense is elite, you got to wonder who's going to be the big star, the face of that defense. Is it going to be Will Anderson or is it going to be Derek Stingley? I mean, there's a lot of options, but I think we anticipate this is going to be a really, really good defense. Top, at least third in the league defense in both areas. And Derek Stingley is going to be a big part of it. So it's been an interesting how we got here type of journey. Props to Nick Caserio for kind of drafting a guy that maybe didn't fit the system that your stopgap coach was running. When looking past that, props to DeMeco Ryans for maximizing the skill set that Derek Stingley has, and props to Derek Stingley for anytime he's on the field doing his thing. So it's been a wild 3 years. Very interesting to see what it looks like as this moves on. One of the better players on the team. We'll see how much better that can get. He's got a lot around him, though, for sure. And he's one of the shining stars on the defense. Appreciate everyone for coming through. I put a post about this earlier. June has always been one of my least favorite months. People close to me, I get real moody in June. And it goes back to the early phase of the career. June is kind of an opportunity where you're really stressed because the guys that are at the top end of the on-air rotation, they go on vacation, so you're getting a lot of reps. It's one of those times, it's like the holidays. So that's always been there. And then once you get your show and you get in the rotation, there's some guys who will just coast, and a lot of guys are taking vacations in June. But I always try to overcompensate, get a little bit like high strung because it's a slow time. There's not as much going on, and you just don't feel like you're doing as good as shows. And it's just always kind of like you're not really unwinding and recharging before the season starts, which is what you're supposed to do. And y'all know how this is. We're approaching 4 years of the channel. Whether I was having a kid, whether I was getting married, whether I was moving, there's always content, and there's going to be content next week. I already have 7 videos lined up. Brick Factory did. But I am trying to enjoy June a little bit more and kind of unwind. It was one of the things that one of my former bosses, we really didn't get along, but I asked him, what's the last thing that you would want to leave me with? Figured he'd just say something like, tee off on me. He said, you just don't need to burn yourself out. And June has always been one of those months where it happens. I feel like it's getting a little bit easier. The Texans haven't really had any slow news time, but I'm going to Arizona tomorrow. I will return next Friday. I'll have the content up, but I'm going to unwind and get ready and try to have a new approach in June so that we're nice and fresh heading in to the season. So I'll be in Flagstaff. Stutes will hold it down on SNL, and I will have content coming up Saturday through Friday. So appreciate everyone for coming through. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to like. Be sure to ride along. And be sure to always remember. And shout out to Rack Balls for the replay. Go ahead and replay it. That's always a good thing. Be sure to remember when it comes to this Texan stuff, We're all in it together. Appreciate y'all for rolling through. It's going to be a fun time. It's going to be a hell of a time. Let's get through June and let's get it.
We about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localize every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not too. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days, opinions to give, we got takeaways. If it's up, then it's